Are you trying to navigate this crazy thing called life? Well, you're in the right place. Welcome to Unraveling with Rayne. Happy New Year's, everyone, and welcome to Unraveling with Rayne. And today we have the opportunity of unraveling with Crystal Willingham. She is a whole life wellness and business consultant, and she has spent the last year focused on manipulating energy and energy work, and she is also an energy healer. My friend Crystal has a degree in internet marketing, and we can tell from her online presence that she definitely has a passion for working with holistic entrepreneurs and providing them with not just practical and proven ways, but energetic ways to help them get their message out to help provoke more of a positive change. Today we have the privilege of sitting down with Crystal, and she is a whole life and wellness and business consultant, and she has spent the last year focused on energy work, and she is also an energy healer. So based on your online presence, it seems like one of your passions is working closely with holistic entrepreneurs and giving them not just practical usage, but also spiritual and energetic uses of how they can get their message out and connect with people to kind of provoke more of a positive change. So tell me what it's been like working with the entrepreneurs, the holistic entrepreneurs.
Okay, well, it has been really interesting. I, of course, am an entrepreneur myself.
Sure.
And so I guess kind of, giving a little bit of background, I, have always had an entrepreneurial spirit.
Right.
So, as far back as I can remember as a little kid and even in high school and things like that. So, after I went and worked in sort of corporate America, fast forward to, deciding to start my own business.
Right.
There just were always kind of things that were difficult to navigate. And I think everybody sort of experiences those kind of stressful things.
Mm-hmm.
When you're trying to run your own business, juggling finances and actually trying to figure out exactly what your message is or what it is that you really want to be, putting out there. And so for me, it really kind of became clear that holistic lifestyle was really important to me. Mm-hmm. So when I say holistic, I mean being healthy and well in your body, in your mind, in your spirit. Mm-hmm. And so I got to a point where I really kind of realized that if I was going to do any kind of a business, mm-hmm. it would need to have some sort of a component of holistic wellness.
Sure.
And I also had this passion for internet marketing.
Right.
So I thought, well, maybe I will, as I got my, my master's degree in internet marketing,
right.
I thought maybe I will work with other holistic business owners, so people who do sort of alternative therapies, chiropractic and naturopathic doctors and, different people like that to help them market what they do. Mm-hmm. And sort of bring more awareness to this world of, sort of alternatives for people to be healthier and well, because that's what I wanted for myself.
Right, right.
And so, fast forward again, I realized that actually as I was going on my own journey of mm-hmm. healing and self-exploration and looking at, how I wanted to live my life as an entrepreneur, mm-hmm. There were some things that I really needed to do for myself first.
Sure.
And so the energy work kind of was born out of that desire to just really, look at all the different aspects that I could be healthy and well, and looking at, proper nutrition and taking supplements and exercise and fitness and all those things. Mm-hmm. There was always something that was sort of missing. Mm-hmm. There was an aspect of all of that was this stuff works really good, but there's something more.
Right.
And so when I began to ask that question of what more is there, the energy just kind of fell into my lap.
That's so awesome that you have found your path in a way that you can combine, your knowledge and your skill set, and then also things that you're passionate about, because so many people don't get that opportunity.
Yeah.
So I think that's so awesome that you have found that for yourself. That it's beautiful.
Yeah.
So we actually met by chance. For me, it was by chance.
For me too, yeah.
So I was helping with this group of people, and we were doing a fitness routine in the park that day, and So you had actually known somebody that was part of this group, and our conversation and our meeting was very brief, but I have to say that it was so profound for me because you said that you had decided that you were going to show up to events at this part of your journey. You just decided that you're just going to show up and you're going to reach out and you're going to start connecting with people, which resonated with me so much at that time, especially for me in my journey, because that's something that I was struggling with, is putting myself out there and making these connections and deciding to show up. And so I have to say that I am so blessed. I feel so blessed to have had that interaction, and that we've kind of continued to stay in touch, and I see you in places I'm like, hey, yeah, that's kind of crazy how she's showing up here and now, and this is what's going on in my life, and this is what's going on in her life. So I don't know if you kind of have had that same kind of connection or not, or
Yeah. It was an interesting time too. I had, actually, I can't take 100, well, I'll take 100% credit for that day.
Okay.
But it was actually because I had a friend that was doing that too.
Uh-huh.
And she was like, yeah, I'm going to start showing up for things. When people invite me, I'm just going to say yes and just show up. And I thought, what a cool idea,
Sure.
to just kind of put yourself out there like that and just, kind of go with the flow, like in that holistic sort of way,
Right.
of just kind of going with what life brings you.
So did you find that you actually got a lot out of that choice?
I did,
Yeah.
yeah. And it was really interesting. A lot of the people that I met at that time are people that I still really, I really have a lot of high esteem for, and that are doing really amazing things.
Sure.
The other gal that was there, that was out there at the fitness class that you were hosting. I mean, I'm watching her doing things, and
Yes.
everybody's kind of going through all of their kind of inner changes, but at the same time, these like transformational things are happening in all these different lives.
Right.
And it's just really cool to watch. It's really cool to sort of feel like you're a part of that whole thing.
Right.
So,
And I
yeah.
think it's interesting how the universe kind of draws us back to each other at the appropriate times.
Yeah.
I've noticed.
Totally.
So that was a great time for me personally, and all the connections I made, especially with you and then the other people in that group. So I felt very fortunate to be able to do that.
Yeah.
So kind of walk me through your journey since our initial meeting up until now. I feel like a lot has been changing, a lot's been happening for you. So fill me in. Tell me.
Yeah, sure. A lot has happened. So at that point in time, I was doing the holistic marketing, and my idea to help the holistic businesses in our community was to put on this big event. So it was like to create this whole life wellness expo, and to invite all of the different practitioners and energy healers, and just people who the vitamins, and all the different things that were associated with like being well in your life.
Right.
To create this event, and then just promote it to the community, and really try to help the marketing dollars go a little bit further for all of these different businesses.
Yes.
And so that's what I was really working on at the time, and also sort of doing some website design and different things like that. So I went through the rest of that year and put this event together, and the event went okay. It went okay, yeah. I got a lot of good feedback from the vendors, the businesses that participated.
Sometimes that's invaluable, like just the feedback alone.
Absolutely. And everybody appreciated what the effort was, but the community didn't really support it. And I think maybe it wasn't on their radar at the time.
Yes.
Maybe it was the timing of the event. Who knows? Who knows?
Sure.
But for some reason, it just wasn't well attended. And so it really kind of led me to a place of feeling kind of burned out, and like questioning, like, well, what am I really doing? Like, I know that this, holistic stuff is real for me, and I know that the marketing stuff is real for me.
Right.
And, it's a passion for me, but how come I can't like seem to like make this thing work? And so I just, took a beat. Like I took a month to just like decompress, and and it was like, it was pretty intense. And I started asking, like, okay, well, what's missing? So like the whole energy work thing had already come into my life, and I was like, that had helped me a lot.
Mm-hmm. So kind of fill me in where you were at with that energy work at that time.
So at that time, I had already been certified as a Reiki 3 practitioner.
Oh, okay.
But I wasn't using it as a business. I was just it was just a fun thing that I knew how to do.
Sure.
And that, like, I would get together with groups of my friends, and we would just kind of do like healing circles and things like that. Mm-hmm. So it was a skill that I was developing, mm-hmm. but it just wasn't on my radar at that time to be someone who actually was skilled enough to do it, as a profession.
Sure. Okay.
And so it was awesome. It was great.
So did that kind of aid in refreshing and taking a new outlook at how you're going to connect with the community a little bit? Or was it actually something else that impacted that?
Something else actually came in at that time. And it was probably, it was definitely a big part of it, because my mindset had changed a lot, mm-hmm. and I was really, had a lot of awareness about, what goes on in the body, what your how your thought process is kind of like, are leading that whole process of how you feel, and sure. Making choices and decisions and stuff like that. Mm. But I knew that there was something else that I was ready for.
Right.
And so I thought maybe I need a coach, And I happened to cross, I don't think anything happens by accident. Like, there's these things that just kind of coincide, right?
Definitely.
I found this ad on Facebook, and this woman had this coaching program, and it was for a coaching program specifically for spiritual business owners who are into online business. Mm. And I'm like, that's me, right? So I read her stuff, I watched her webinar, and I just knew. I was like, this is what I need to do. Uh-huh. So I connected with her, and I've been working with her for about 1.5 years now.
Great.
And the information that she gave me helped me to kind of see where I was out of alignment with really, like, the true purpose of what I'm here for. Mm-hmm. I was approaching all the things that I wanted to do, but I was sort of approaching them from the wrong perspective. Mm-hmm. Of approaching life from the standpoint of what other people think you should do, and what what society tells you that you're supposed to do.
Yes.
Well, you have this degree in marketing, you have to make that work, right?
Right.
And for me, that wasn't correct.
Yeah.
It wasn't correct for me to be approaching these things from that standpoint. Mm-hmm. And honestly, the things that I was doing for fun, mm-hmm. The energy work and going to the healing circles and communicating with other women about, internal growth and self-help and all that stuff came so easy to me. And mm-hmm. It was like I would go and meet with people and be sharing things that was happening to me, and everybody would be like, wow, like, can tell us more about that,
Yeah.
And it was really exciting for me.
Yeah.
And come to find out that is actually the thing that I'm supposed to be doing.
Sure.
Based on my work with this coach. And she really helped me to see that. So the stuff that was coming easily to me was all stuff that I thought, man, I'm not supposed to do that. Mm-hmm. Building a business is supposed to be hard, right? It's hard work, and you have to,
Right? It's amazing. I just stumbled across that realization. Mm-hmm. Like, just a few months ago.
Yeah.
It's amazing. And I think that so many entrepreneurs are like that. They think this is supposed to be hard.
Yeah.
Like, I'm supposed to have to really, really blood, sweat, and tears. Mm-hmm. I mean, there is work.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, there's a lot of work. But I've noticed that I found myself in a very similar position as far as pursuing directions that I felt like I was supposed to, rather than focusing on, say, my writing that I really love to do. Like, just it's easier to capture that passion and to capture that drive and to keep going, for sure.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
So then what was your next step?
So just working with her and really studying, I actually began studying human design, which is sort of this study of, like, looking at how you're actually designed and what things that you're supposed, that you came here to do.
Right.
And it's sort of based on the energy of your consciousness and your own body. And so I started really kind of studying it and diving into it, and it really kind of, it just was a minor course correction. Mm-hmm. So it was like, okay, all of these things are still there. The desire to help other entrepreneurs that are, holistic type businesses, mm-hmm. the desire to, be more healthy within my own self and kind of pursue all that stuff. Mm-hmm. But the minor course correction was now realizing that actually I am a healer, and that I actually am here to help people on that level as well. And that was something that I just really didn't think that before that was what I was supposed to do. I thought it was weird.
Really?
Yeah. I was like, I think people will think that's weird, and I think it's weird, and so so that's not what I'm supposed to do, but really that is. And I fully embrace that weird aspect of myself now.
I think that's definitely something that drives productivity, is embracing your weirdness.
Yeah.
Because I find that sometimes I can be a very naturally awkward person, and I'm just like, I'm just going to embrace my awkwardness.
Yeah.
It comes out weird, it's just weird.
That's right.
So.
And you know what? I don't really care what people think anymore.
So you found your direction, and then you embraced your weirdness, and then what happened next?
Then I felt about a year ago, I felt this pull to actually jump out there with it.
Yeah.
And go like, and so I just kind of kept asking, like, is it really time? Like, is it time for me to really like jump out here and help people this way? And I just kept getting a yes. I kept getting like this actually, it was connect. The word that kept coming to me was connect. And so I did. So I connected with Dr. Noelle over at Stellar U Wellness Center, and I asked her. Which is
where you can find Crystal.
That's where I am now. I've been there since February of last year, so almost a year now. And and then it just, when I checked in with her, and she said, I have space available for more practitioners, and I'd love to visit with you about that and see if it would be a good fit for us. And so and obviously it was a pretty good fit. So
Beautiful. Yeah. Well, that's great that worked out that way. So let's back up a little bit. I know you kind of touched on it before, talking about how you've kind of always had this entrepreneurial like drive as a kid. Tell me more about that. What was young Crystal like?
Oh my gosh. Probably a weirdo.
I gotta jump back into that time a little bit.
A loner, very kind of cerebral type of, like always kind of thinking about stuff. But, sort of always fascinated with business and, how things work. I think as a young child, it's kind of like you take for granted that there's grocery stores and there's like, I don't know about you, but like the teacher lives at school kind of,
totally.
That whole thing of like, there's just this infrastructure of the stuff that's there.
Yes.
But how did it get there is kind of like not really part of that process. Right. And for me, at an early age, it became part of my thought process. Like how is the grocery store? Who put that there?
Yeah.
And how is the groceries being put on the shelf? And so that was kind of my inner kind of conversation about stuff, and I just wanted to know how how it all worked.
Yeah. I, as a kid, I didn't even know that an entrepreneur was a thing. Like, I just thought that society was society, and it was already all mapped out, and you just kind of found your place within the infrastructure. Like, you couldn't create your own thing.
Right.
And I think that most of us kind of experience that as kids. It just is what it is, and you find your place. So you're kind of you're finding your way as a kid, and you're kind of recognizing that you want to figure out how things got to be the way that they were, and then what happens.
Yeah, and then then I get through high school and stuff, and I'm like, okay, I wanna be a person that owns their own business, and I really wanted to go into.
In high school, you knew that you wanted to own your own business. In high school,
yeah, so I wanted to actually go into cosmetology.
Really?
And my parents were like, no, you're going to college, and I was like, oh,
okay.
It's like it wasn't.
Let's do that.
It wasn't like a big battle or anything. But I did go into a field that, most people who go into architecture and planning do own their own, architecture firms and things like that. I mean, some people go to work for firms and things, but a lot of times that is the next step when you go into that. So, so it just was part. It was just kind of part of my inner drive to do something was to have that aspect of it. And I worked in that industry for 10 years.
Okay.
And then I was like, nope, that's not it. I kind of came full circle and went back into the hair industry.
Right.
And,
I remember reading that on your website. Yeah. So then you decided to branch out on your own and do cosmetology. So you kind of went back to that idea.
I did, yeah.
And how did that process affect your journey from there?
It was hard.
Was it?
It was really hard because being the type of person that I have been up until now, I always thought that I had to do everything by myself. I always thought that this is my thing and I have to create it.
Mm-hmm.
And, kind of looking outside too far for help kind of wasn't part of my makeup, because I was kind of always taught that, no, it's like you do it and then, you just make it happen yourself kind of thing. And,
sure.
And that was what life was showing me, my inner reality was being reflected back to me, and I ended up being a person who always had to do everything by myself.
Mm-hmm.
And so that phase was hard.
Yeah.
And so I got about 6 years into that. I was like, you know what, this is kind of killing me. So
really?
I need to stop. I need to stop and regroup and figure something else out. And then, pretty much throughout all that time, I was always into healthy food and supplements and herbs and finding ways. My son has some health issues, so it was like making sure that he was getting natural things that would help him, and
sure.
of course for myself too.
Yes.
And so when I kind of ended up closing shop, I thought, what would be good? And actually a friend of mine was like, Crystal, you should go work at the vitamin store because you already know so much stuff about that, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, you know what? I should do that.
Yeah. A whole
so I
arsenal
did.
of knowledge in you. Yeah.
Yeah, just from my own experience, So I did. And it reawakened, or actually even just kind of expanded that, the passion for the whole life wellness, holistic wellness.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of where that whole thing really started to kind of grow.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. So I know that we touched on it a little bit when you were talking about energy and healing energy. I don't know that there are very many people in our community that are familiar with Reiki. And I personally, I had heard of it, and I had very, very brief knowledge of it. So maybe if you could explain that a little bit more for us.
Yeah, sure. So the foundation or the basis of energy work, of any type of energy work, is that everything is energy.
Right.
So, when we look at it from a scientific standpoint, we know that everything that we see is a frequency. So everything that's light, everything that's sound is a frequency.
Right.
And then we have everything in our body is vibrating at a frequency. So when we talk about energy, that's what we're talking about. It's just sort of the frequencies of energy that make everything up.
Okay.
And so from a mathematical standpoint, something on a frequency of red can never be seen as blue, because they're just not the same frequency. And so in the human body, it's kind of the same thing. If you have the proper frequency of healthy tissue, then it's going to be that frequency if it's healthy. And if it's not healthy, it'll be a different frequency. So it's the energy of those frequencies that shift and change in our bodies that we're working with when we're doing energy work. And so thoughts, feelings, beliefs, emotions, all of that's energy as well. They're frequencies of energy.
Awesome. So
vibration.
I tried to do some homework. I watched The Living Matrix. Is that something that you would recommend for people?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So I watched this and I was like, oh my gosh, there's so much untapped potential here that we're not really recognizing. Do you feel that same kind of pull in our society?
I do, yeah. So, going back to working at the vitamin store, still I felt like something was missing. And so I worked there for 3 years, and I got this amazing education in nutrition and supplementation and all that, but there was something that was, there was still a disconnect. And right after I left there, that's when the energy healing stuff came into my life. And I was like, that's what it is. So I think that most people are operating with this assumption that, if I eat healthy and I exercise and I, drink good water and I do, certain things, that it's, my body's going to be healthy.
Okay.
But when we're not aware that there's an energetic component, and it can be something as simple as an emotional upset that happened when you were a little kid, that changes a frequency of energy in your body, and you live with that energy your whole life because you don't realize that there's something you can do to change that. Right. And so that's what I do with people now, is really help them to see where those distortions in their energy, where they are, and then give remedies to help to change that, or tools or techniques, things that we can do to change that, so that the body can go, okay, this is the right frequency now. And so now I can have healthy tissue, or I can have, whatever that is. So.
Okay, so you were talking about helping people manipulate their energy in terms of feelings and emotions. Do you also help with like physical ailments or just emotional, mental type work?
Yeah, so with physical ailments, it's an interesting thing. So what I discovered with the research that I did, and sort of actually working with it myself for a few years now, is that a lot of the physical problems that we have are actually, there is an underlying emotional component.
Really?
Yeah, and so most people have some sort of there is some sort of either an emotion or a thought form or a belief that is present, that when we clear that out of the way, the body actually can start to heal that physical problem as well. So it all kind of goes together. I do have another system that I use that's a little bit more high tech, and that
Is this
system,
the Ness thing?
that is Ness.
I saw how it spelt out the Ness
Yeah.
package. I was like, ooh, I wonder what that is.
Yeah.
So yes, explain.
Yeah. So I'll share that. So Ness is Nutri-Energetic System. They actually just rebranded. They're called Bioenergetics now.
Oh, okay.
And so with over 25 years of study went into actually mapping out all of the frequencies that make up healthy human tissue.
Uh-huh.
So pretty much from head to toe, every organ system, every area of like so like in traditional Chinese medicine we have meridians. So those are where the energy flows through the body. So they were able to actually map out the entire human body field through frequency and codes.
Okay.
And say that this is the perfect code for this healthy function of this part of the body. And it goes through like the physical minerals and substances like that the body uses, all the way up to emotions and hormones and everything.
So just the whole gamut.
The whole gamut, everything.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
25 years.
25 years of research, yeah.
I don't think that you can deny 25
Yeah.
years worth of data. That is amazing.
Yeah.
So we've got energy mapping for emotions, hormones, physical aspects, physical manifestations, ailments, all of it. And so maybe tell me more about the actual practice of Reiki and realigning that energy.
Okay. So it's interesting because I do combine Reiki with the Ness. So
Okay.
I do them together when I do sessions with people. And so with Reiki is sort of a more general energy.
Okay.
And it's basically chi. So when we look at like people who do Tai Chi or Qigong or people who practice like pranic breathing and stuff like that, prana, chi, ki, it's all sort of the different names for the same thing, and it's just sort of like life force energy.
Okay.
And so Reiki, the word Reiki actually means universal life force energy.
Okay.
That's what it means. It's a Japanese word.
Perfect.
And so when you have the attunements for Reiki, basically what that does is it opens up your ability to sort of bring more energy into your body field, and then channel that energy through your hands to give it to somebody else.
So is this like an energy that's coming from where? Like with like
I think
all
it's
of us? Or is it just kind of everywhere?
I think it's just everywhere. It's like kind of the energy that's in everything. So there's ki in plants, there's ki, I mean, it's everywhere.
Okay.
And so just your intention of being able to allow more of this energy to flow into your body, you can actually feel it. You can actually feel a shift in how your body feels, and it's very, very subtle. So I think most people probably generally can feel it, but because it's so subtle, we ignore those things. Like a tingle or an itch or something, and we just kind of dismiss it because we
rationalize it. And
it's like whatever,
Right.
But generally, that you are noticing subtle energy moving in your body when you feel those things.
Okay.
So paying attention to it and practicing, and then being around people, validating what you're noticing, that's what kind of has given me the certainty to know what I'm doing is actually doing something.
Right.
Yeah.
I think validation is huge.
Yeah.
Because if you're just kind of floundering out there and you're like, what is this? I don't even know. And you don't have anybody to bounce that off of or to talk to or connect or, like you said, validate. You just never know. You never make the connection.
I would have never made the connection.
Yeah.
I honestly don't think I ever would have.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So, so when I do a Reiki session, generally what I do, and I think everybody's different, you know, and first of all, anyone can do it.
Okay.
So it's not like a superpower that only like certain people can have, right?
Right.
Like anyone can do it.
Am I the chosen one?
Right, exactly. So, but I think people have it to different degrees, you know,
Okay.
and again, it's whatever, you know, you choose to sort of focus on into, you know, it's like a muscle, you know, building up the muscles of, you know, whatever it is. So, so for me, what it feels like is when I tune in to another person's energy field, I can actually feel in my own body where the distortions are. And then I just sort of through intention, I allow the energy to sort of go, and it makes my hands hot, and they sort of tingle.
Yeah.
And then that person receives that energy, and then what happens from there, you know, we can only guess. You know, but generally people notice relaxation. They notice, you know, their pain. If they have pain, their pain kind of will decrease or go away altogether. And so those are sort of the two main things that happen. People generally tend to get really relaxed and feel very much more calm.
I would imagine that certain energies take longer to realign.
Yeah.
More time and more sessions and stuff.
Yeah, and I think if it's been something that a person's been dealing with for a long, long time, then that can definitely take a long time to you know, to fix and to kind of have their energy sort of rebalance. So
does that rebalancing of their energy affect you, or is it just like a one-way?
Yeah, so it's pretty much a one-way thing, which is what the attunements do, is it actually kind of helps you so that you're not giving your own energy to somebody.
Okay.
So you're actually you just open yourself up to just let it flow
like
through.
The bridge.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Like, yeah, just be a bridge for that person.
I was gonna say, 'cause that'd be really scary if then there was like backlash and like messes up your own energy, you know?
Yeah.
So okay, that makes sense. That's good. So when I was kind of doing my homework, I came across the 5 principles of Reiki, and you know, I thought, oh, okay, so if we just kind of focus, I was like, okay, I'm going to try to focus on these principles, because it had kind of talked about picking one a day and just kind of focusing on this, right? And so I thought, during a time of high anxiety, I kind of had it in the back of my mind. I wasn't really focused on all of this reading that I had been doing, right? And so I was at high anxiety, and I was trying to figure out, well, okay, I got to do something to calm this down. And then all of a sudden, that first principle, today I will not worry. And I was like, oh, okay, I'm gonna try that. So I sat and I closed my eyes, like, today I will not worry. And then I like focused on my shoulders. I was like, today I will not worry. And you know what? It was actually really calming, and it did help. I was like, ooh, that was amazing. I think I want to know more about how to, you know, like tune into this, because if that one phrase, one out of the 5 principles was enough to just kind of like give me enough clarity to kind of move forward with my day, that's just amazing. So maybe you can discuss the 5 principles and how to apply those, or even if I'd even applied it correctly. It just kind of, like I said, popped into my brain. But I'll let you kind of talk about those a little bit more.
Yeah. So so definitely the practice of Reiki does include a lot of meditative processes.
Okay.
And so you can definitely, especially if you're doing it for your own self, you can meditate on the principles. I don't have them memorized, so I can't go through each one of them.
Sure.
But you definitely can use those to you know, to sort of really kind of hone your mind, and then sort of bring yourself into that really sort of calm and relaxed state, and it really does work. It really does work, and it's all through intention. Yeah. You know, so it's actually a really powerful tool.
Yeah, I found it to be hugely beneficial. So
yeah,
I can attest to that one at least.
Yeah.
Hey, this is kind of like a random thing that I was just thinking about a couple hours before we came in. Does channeling energy and retuning the body and the energy, does that speak to anything like when our subconscious and dreaming and lucid dreaming and any of that? Is there any correlation or any connection there?
I think there is. I really think there is. I think that, you know, when you start to look at everything as being energy, there's just so much going on,
right.
there's so much of the spectrum of energy that we don't see, we don't perceive. I mean, like, you're sitting in a room right now with cell phone signals coming in and with Wi-Fi signals and with, like all this stuff, and it's around us all the time.
Right.
And so, and there are some people who are super, super sensitive to it, and they're super tuned in, and they can notice things that other people can't notice. And then there are people who, like me, like, I probably am not the most sensitive, but when I place my intention on knowing, then and I just wait, then I actually do feel it. And and so that's how I do my work, is when I have a client on my table, I definitely will really tune in and just allow myself to be more perceptive, and that's when I can feel what's going on in their body and my body.
Right. Yeah, I asked you this because I've noticed on my own journey, dreaming has been a very common theme, and like I'll notice that I come in contact with a lot of things that are around the idea of dreaming and connecting to, that subconscious mind a little bit. And I'm trying to tap into that a little bit more. And so maybe if you have some insight on how to, tune into our subconscious more.
Yeah.
I'm trying to reframe a lot, because I'll be honest, a lot of times when I dream, it's not, I wouldn't use the word dream. It would be more like a nightmare or terror type thing. And so I'm trying to move away from those. And so what I've started to do is I've done a lot of journaling and analyzing and trying to pull it apart to de-escalate those things and to kind of go into them with more intention. And I don't know if that's the correct way to go about it. So that way I can better analyze, okay, what are my fears here? What are these dreams trying to tell me about what's going on within my mind and my body? So I don't know if you have any insight on that.
No, I think that's perfect. I think that is exactly what, like, that process that you've just explained sounds exactly like what I would suggest that you do. I think it really is. So in dreams, what I've noticed, and also sort of when you do visioning and things like that, a lot of times the information comes through and it's very symbolic.
Yes.
So there's not going to be a direct correlation all the time with what you see in that dream or that vision with an actual, like, real event. So there's going to be some sort of a symbolic meaning to it. So then it's like deciphering what that symbology is for you.
Right.
And we all have our own symbology. I mean, there's collective consciousness, and there's cultural things that we can all say, well, this means that. But sometimes it's even more sort of unique to you.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, what I've noticed is through a lot of the therapy and things that I've been doing to work through trauma, my dreams have lost the facade of who caused the trauma and become more of, like you said, more symbolic and more like animals and situations and things like that. So once I noticed that shift, I'm like, oh, well, there's probably something to this. Like, how do I break it down more and pay attention to more different themes or ideas and kind of regrouping them?
Yeah.
So
what I do in meditation is, so for me, meditation is really huge in asking questions and getting answers from the subconscious.
I am terrible at meditating.
Yeah.
Like, I try, but my brain is so busy right now. I will get there, though.
Yeah.
Someday.
Yeah, and it's a baby step thing.
Yes.
I mean, it's not something that I learned how to do overnight by any means.
Okay, good.
So there's guided meditation. There's tracks that you can download and listen to.
Love guided meditation.
Yeah. So and then there's tones. There's like solfeggio frequencies and different sort of frequencies that bring your brain into that delta state or the theta state where you're actually sort of more in that accessing the subconscious.
Do you find that guided meditation is easier for people initially, or the tones like you're talking about?
I think it's different for everybody.
Think so?
I really like using the tones because then there's no, I don't feel like there's any additional input. Like, so there's no words or anything.
I was going to say, sometimes sentence structures will mess with me a little bit and it kind of pulls me out of it.
Yeah.
So maybe a tone would be more appropriate.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so the tones are literally helping your brain entrain to that pattern.
Okay.
So that your physical body follows suit. So it's sort of like helping your nervous system to be in that state of really relaxed, alert, comfortable so that you can actually start to then listen to hear what the wisdom body or the subconscious mind is wanting to say to you. Another thing is using tools that will help you to clear some of the emotional charge. So there's tools that I share with people in my practice that help to sort of release the emotional energy that's underneath that. And once that energy is released, it's literally gone from your body field. You instantly have, like, people say they feel lighter, they feel, you have like this instant ability to focus or to think about that memory or that thought, or, for example, the dream, to kind of remember what's happening in the dream without the fear or without the, sort of the charge of that underlying emotion.
Yes.
And then the clarity can come.
Clarity would be beautiful.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So persistence. Yes, practice makes perfect,
Absolutely.
Especially meditation. What do you think that would be an average, I guess I don't really want to say timeline, but do you think that there is a timeline for people that can kind of work into that meditative state to where they can kind of sustain meditation on their own, maybe with just frequencies or without needing more of a guided meditation?
Well, all I can say is it took me a few years.
Did it?
Yeah, it took me a few years. I remember when I first tried to start meditating, and it was so hard.
Yeah.
And it was like, I was trying all the different things, just stare at the flower.
Okay.
Just sit there and look at the flower. Okay, this is boring.
Right.
Look at the flame. Just stare at the flame.
Well, if you think
working.
about our society, we never have to keep our attention on anything for more than 5 seconds.
I know, exactly.
I guess it does make it increasingly harder for us to do these things.
Exactly.
But they definitely sound like they are hugely important.
It really is, and I wouldn't be able to do my work without developing the focus.
Yeah.
The ability to just wait and notice what you notice and give it longer than a minute.
Yes.
It really, it's a huge thing.
Yeah. It's funny that you mentioned that, because I'm going to be releasing some footage that I did on a 30-day challenge. It was 30 days without social media, and part of that is how it made me notice that I can't wait. Like, if I have 2 minutes between one thing and the next thing, I would be on my phone, or I would want to pull out my phone and be like, oh, what's on Facebook? What's on Instagram? How can I keep my brain busy, so I don't have to reflect or do all the things that I should be doing.
Yeah.
So it's so amazing. And I use this term to describe where I'm at in certain skills and certain things that I would like to be better at. And I call it the caveman stage. I feel like I'm way deep in the caveman stage of meditation. It's very clunky and it's very raw and it's not smooth at all. And my childhood dance teacher is going to love this term, but eventually, once I feel like I've mastered a skill, I'm at the prima ballerina stage, where it's very fluid and it looks effortless. And so I would eventually like to get there with meditation. We'll see how long it takes. It could be 10 years down the road. But
you know what? But I don't think it will be. I don't think it will be.
We'll
I think that those types of changes, when you are really making a daily, so consistency. Consistency is really the key to changing any habit.
Yes. Doing
something every single day, even if it's for 5 minutes. But if you do it every single day, there's an article that I read about this NASA space program where they put goggles on the astronauts and it flipped their vision upside down. And so they had to wear the goggles day and night, and they were being checked for their stress responses and all that kind of stuff to see what would happen when they went out to space. Obviously
hugely disorienting.
Yeah, hugely disorienting. They had all kinds of problems and stuff, but then after 26 days,
okay, 26.
One of the astronauts, the vision, his brain rewired itself so that his vision turned right side up with the goggles on.
26 days.
26 days. So between 26 and 30 days, your brain can literally rewrite neural pathways.
I was going to say,
but you have to do something consistently every day for that period of time. If you skip a day or two, you have to start over.
Yes.
And so that's one of those things. That's one of those sort of keys that I promote in the work that I do with people.
Oh, that's what we were all about in the fitness world. 30 days.
Yeah.
That was the goal. If you can do something consistently for 30 days, then it's now become a habit. So I can do that.
Yeah.
I can do 30 days and move from there. So we've got meditation. We've got reworking our energy. What do you think would be the most useful tip for somebody who's looking at how to better their mind and their body together? What is like the one tip that you would say for them to start with?
I would say yeah, that's a good question.
Right? Like, where do you start this big grand journey?
That is because what I think now is probably different than what I would have said, when I started.
Yeah.
I think that right now, mindfulness,
Uh-huh.
a practice of mindfulness is a really easy thing to start to implement,
Okay.
because it's even easier than meditation.
Yes.
So mindfulness is really when you just sit still for 5 minutes and you just listen to what's going on in the room and you pay attention. Feel what your body feels like. Feel what your feet feel like. Feel like, just like notice the neighbor's dog barking. Just being quiet and noticing what's happening around you for 5 minutes. That's a mindfulness practice, right?
Sounds easy enough.
And that's, so to me, if I would have known about that 3 years ago, maybe I, would have started there, but I didn't know about it.
Right.
So where I started was with, sort of working on clearing the emotional baggage. So I use a technique called emotion code.
Ooh, what's
And it's a muscle testing technique. It helps you to identify what the trapped emotion is that you're ready to let go of. And then you use an electromagnetic process to clear that, like a physical magnet.
Really?
Yeah, will help you to clear it.
Ooh.
So that was where I started.
Okay.
And people around me, it was just the coolest thing ever that it just happened. Like, I didn't try to create a group of people that wanted to meet every week to practice this. They just
happened?
Yeah. I just said, let's do it. And they were like, okay. And we all ended up meeting every week for like 2 years.
Really?
Yeah. So that's one of those things is like, that feels like it's meant to happen, right?
Yeah.
So
definitely.
So that's where I started. I really started working on like clearing the emotional baggage, and once like I said before, once the emotion is out of the way, then there's clarity. It's like you can actually look at okay, I have this memory of something really bad that happened, but I don't feel bad about it anymore. Now I can look at what might have really been happening that was hidden from me because the emotion was there.
Sure,
right?
Sure. And I think that's such I love how you keep bringing it back to reflecting on emotions, because I don't think that we as a society put much stock in that. It's like, oh yeah, you feel bad.
Yeah, get over it.
Get over it. Like, you have a job to do. Let's work, you know? So I love that. I love that it encompasses everything. Like mind, body, spirit.
Yeah.
Beautiful. So moving forward with your projects and implementing this process into your business, tell me how that's working.
It's so amazing. I love what I do. I love my clients. I love working with my people, because I'm saying, here's something that's going to help you if you do this. And they go, okay. And they take it home and they do it. Yes. And then they come back the next week and they're like, it worked. And I'm like, I know.
It's awesome.
Yeah. So I love it. I love it. I have a 13-week program. What actually really became clear to me is that these things do take time. I know that there's some people out there that can, make changes happen really fast. I don't think that's the norm. I think that's sort of the exception to the rule. And so we need to give ourselves time of daily, practice. And so my 13-week program is it's 2 months of learning these new tools, and then 1 month of solid daily practice.
Okay.
And people are having such amazing results. I'm so thrilled. Yeah.
That is great. That is so great. I love that, like I said before, that you've been able to kind of bring all of your skills together. And I think that a lot of entrepreneurs don't take that step. Yeah. They don't list all of their skills and then try to figure out what line of work that they should be moving in. So tell us more about what other packages and things that you do offer.
Okay.
Along with that.
So the 13-week program is really a more general program.
Okay.
It just so happens that a lot of the people that I work with are entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
That I really wasn't setting out to bring entrepreneurs into that program, but I think it just, I don't know why. I think maybe that's my energy, and it's drawing people, that are sort of like-minded on that level too.
Yes.
I do have another program that is specifically for entrepreneurs, and it does incorporate more of, shifting our mindset around, what our true passions are, what we're actually here to do, knowing, sort of through human design, like what that your true purpose is, because sometimes we're just a little bit off. With that, just that 1 degree of like not really being really clear about what we're really here to do. So I help people with that aspect of it, and then giving them the tools for sort of doing the clearing that they need to do.
Going back to that though, that's like the question to life. What am I here to do?
Yeah.
So imagine if you could really hone in on that.
Yeah.
That is amazing.
It is. It's the most incredible tool. Like when I first started working with my human design coach, I told everybody about it. Like, I was like, you guys have to do this.
Yeah.
And they have a free thing that you can, plug in your information on their website. It's jovianarchive.com or mybodygraph.com. And you plug in your birth date, your time of birth and location. And it shows you, like, this is how your energy is. This is how you're made. This is how your energy's made. Now, for the average person, it's not something that you can just look at and go, okay, I understand what that means. Like, there's a lot of study that you have to, like, know to go into, like, to do that.
Okay.
And so that's what I did when I first did it. I was like, okay, I went and Googled everything that I could. I pulled up every free PDF that was out there,
I'm going to figure this out.
Yeah, I looked at all the YouTube videos,
Yes.
so I just jumped right
like
into
something
it.
I would do.
Yeah. And so, I pretty much, I just share, that aspect of it and especially with the business side of things, just to kind of give people a nudge in the right direction. I'm not certified to coach that, so so I don't do the coaching of it, but I do share that information so people can, there's a very little bit of information there that really helps to open up that awareness, of like, oh, like the thing that I was doing for fun is actually the thing that I should be doing. Right? Yeah. That's my real gift that I'm here to like share with the world. So, so that's part of that business process. And then, like I said, sort of clearing, the mental and emotional baggage around being a business owner, because we have a lot of negative programming. Money is evil, and if I'm doing something to help people, I shouldn't be charging them for it.
Right.
And so moving all of that sort of mental and emotional baggage out of the way is part of the process. And then sharing with people some of the sort of the real practical, tried and true things of what you need to do to be on Facebook. Like, what do you need to have on your website?
Social media is so confusing.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, and there's so many platforms, and there's so many ways that you should be handling it. It is it's a job in and of itself. Yeah. Yeah.
And there's a way to do it, and there's a way not to do it,
There is.
Yeah. And so for me, I think the stage that I'm at with my own business and what I feel confident and comfortable coaching people about is really just kind of the audience building aspect of it. Because I think
at your post and I'm like, oh my gosh, that is so beautiful.
Yeah.
Look at how she worded that. That is just like, it encompasses everything, and it's so well presented. I look at your stuff and I'm just like, oh, why can't I be that awesome? No.
You are.
I try. I do my best.
You are.
Put my best self out there.
Yeah.
But no, definitely. So we've got how to use your platforms. Yes. And then what else is encompassed in that?
Yeah. So again, it's really mainly sort of coaching on the audience building aspect of it, and kind of helping people to really hone into like, well, so now that I kind of know, like, maybe I was off a little bit about my true business mission, and now like I kind of know what that business purpose is, and then who is my audience? Like who am I really wanting to work with, and how do we, from an energetic and sort of even maybe a spiritual aspect of it, how do we really like attract those people? Because that's really what it's about. It's not really about like going out and pushing yourself on anyone.
I was gonna say so many people work on that basis alone. Like, I'm just gonna vomit all of my stuff on you, and you're gonna listen and look and watch, right? And so basically you're shifting that, and you're drawing the correct audience instead of just like vomiting it everywhere.
Exactly.
Yes,
exactly.
And that sounds like such a much more pleasant process.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's also one that we're not ever taught. Like, people going into business, we have all of these traditional paradigms of business as advertising and commercials, and you have to like tell people what you do.
Yes.
And that's actually, not correct in our social media world.
Right. Yeah, I can definitely attest to that, because at the end of my schooling and through the finalizing of my certifications and personal training and stuff, there's actually a course that you had to take on how to advertise. And it just was very pushy. And it always, it just got me. It didn't sit well with me. I'm thinking, there has to be a better way than to just push and push and drive people crazy, So, yes,
absolutely.
I'm so on board with that line of thinking.
Yeah. And then the last piece of it is also that it takes time.
Yes.
It's not an overnight thing, and there's so many people who are really making a huge impact, and they're doing it, and they're coming out and they're saying, hey, look, this is how I made my business work, and you can learn how to make your business work too. But at the end of the day, you have to realize that these people, they spent 8, 9, 10 years making all the mistakes so that they could be that person who's that expert.
Right.
And so for us, looking at that, going, oh, well, in a year I can have this multi-million-dollar business or whatever. Well, no.
Right.
No.
Right.
Probably not in a year.
But what else I've noticed is a lot of people that did spend those, 5, 10 years making all those mistakes, a lot of them don't want to tell you that story.
Right.
They don't want to let you in on that side of it. They just want you to see the success part of it. And I don't know, I'm not really sure why that is, because I feel like there's so much that other people can learn. I mean, if I spent 10 years making a bunch of mistakes, I'm going to want to tell everybody else, hey, don't do this.
Right.
If you want a successful business, don't do any of these things. So I'm not 100% sure why people are portraying their businesses that way.
Yeah, I don't know. I think, part of it has to do with, honestly, just making money.
Yeah,
but I think that authenticity and and true, having a heart for other people comes through. And so I think that the people who who are willing to be authentic and put their heart out there and say, hey, these are some of the things that you can do to to be a successful entrepreneur.
Right.
It feels like that approach has more value. And that's kind of the approach that I want to take is, and what I have put into my program is that, come approach it from the heart, approach it from that place of authenticity, give people who you are. Do
you find it scary? Being authentic and letting people
not
see who you
anymore. It's getting easier. I'll say
Is
this.
it?
I'll say it's getting easier. It was. I was so freaked out 3 years ago, 4 years ago.
Yeah.
About like I said, I thought the energy stuff was weird, and it's like people are gonna think I'm weird, and I'm in I'm doing the BNI stuff and everything, and I'm trying to be this this marketer, oh, I do websites,
Let me put on my suit and tie.
Right, and people are like, that doesn't even feel right. You don't even feel right saying that, because that wasn't really who I was. It was, I'm there going, oh my God, they need some energy work there. Their emotions are way out of whack, and they really need me to help them with emotional releasing. And I couldn't say that because that wasn't what I was there for.
Right.
Yeah.
So then you kind of rehoned it and put yourself in that position.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. That's awesome. Yeah, but in the funny thing, going back to presenting mistakes and being authentic and like you said, speaking from the heart and really trying to reach out and help people, I think that attitude can definitely be taken in other avenues of life, not just business and work and being an entrepreneur. I think that there's a huge gap in our mental health overall, and in the way it's presented and the way it's taught, and especially in I think that really truly, if you look at it, I think that emotional health should be taught way, way young. I don't know from your side, but I wasn't really presented with a whole lot of emotional talk or even correct definitions of what certain emotions were at a young age. I don't know if you have that same experience or not.
Yeah, we need to come back and do a whole separate podcast on on emotional health,
yes.
because it is so huge. It is so huge. I'm learning still, again, looking at my human design as an emotional authority, a person who has emotional authority, and being taught that I wasn't allowed to feel my feelings.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and I think that, a lot of people are taught that,
Yeah.
don't feel your feelings,
Yeah.
if you're sad or upset, whatever, just get over it, forget
Yes.
it, don't,
Yeah.
and that creates a huge dysfunction, and it
Agreed.
creates all kinds of problems in your body.
Yes.
I know, for me personally, I can't speak for everybody who has migraines, but for me personally, I realized that the headache was a result of not allowing myself to feel what I needed to feel
That's
emotionally.
How it manifested.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. Well, we might have to do another podcast on just emotional awareness and
Yeah.
right. Well, thank you so much for coming and unraveling with me today.
You're so welcome.
So where can we find you?
So my website is crystalwillingham.com.
Perfect.
I'm on Facebook, Crystal
Yes.
Clarity Wellness.
Yes.
And I'm at Stellar U Wellness Center in Richland. It's right on Swift Boulevard, right next to Catholic Hospital.
Perfect.
And other social media, but
They're all linked together.
They're all linked
yes?
together.
Because, like I said, you're an expert at managing social media. I'm very envious of that right now. No.
Yeah, it's been a process.
Yes.
I've been doing it for a long
Yes.
time, so it's
Yeah.
like maybe I should
There's
start
that
making
10-year
it do
story
something.
back there.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe I should start making it work for me. I don't
Yes,
know.
beautiful. Well, thank you again.
You're welcome.
I am
It's
so
my
happy
pleasure.
that we got this opportunity to do this.
Me
so.
too, and thank you for having me.
Ah, no problem.
And that concludes our Unraveling with Crystal. If you would like more information about Crystal, you can go to crystalwillingham.com. That's crystalwillingham.com. You can also find her on Facebook at Crystal Clarity Media, as well as Crystal Clarity Wellness. If you'd like to follow her on Instagram, you can find her at Holistic Wellness and Prosperity. Thank you all so much for listening. If you would like to help support Unraveling with Rayne, go to patreon.com/unravelingwithrayne. When you become a patron, you receive bonus content such as behind-the-scenes footage, along with other special content that you won't be able to find anywhere else. Music for Unraveling with Rayne was provided by Barefoot Randy. Studio space was provided by Moody Logic.